I'm used to bigger cameras, not an iPhone. Okay. Hi, I'm Shannon Malone-deBenedictis. Why am I teaching this class, How to Sell Yourself Like a TV Show? Well, I've got a little bit of a background that might be helpful in this situation. So I have been a documentary television producer for over 25 years. I've worked on some very small projects like videos for WebMD, some Sesame Studios shorts, etc. But I've also worked on some really big projects, including I won a Primetime Emmy, that's right there, for Secrets of the Whales on Disney Plus for Outstanding Documentary Series. I also won a Daytime Emmy, that's right there, for Penguin Town on Netflix about the jackass penguins in South Africa. So I've seen a lot in my television days. I've worked in development, I was an editor, I was an executive producer, run the full gamut. But here's a little secret. Before I was in television, I was a talent agent. Crazy, right? I got my degree in video and wanted to be a filmmaker, but when I graduated back in the 90s in the first Bush administration, there weren't many jobs in television. So I became a talent agent at a company called Aquin, running a division called Portfolio, which helped people in the creative industries, advertising, marketing, different corporations find jobs. So here I am, 2025, and there's a lot of people looking for work. And I thought, you know what? I want to combine one side of myself, the agent side, with my television side, and give you some advice on how to sell yourself like a TV show. Why is it important to know that all the great elements of a TV pitch are inside you? Well, for one, sometimes we have trouble looking back at ourselves and seeing, hey, we do some really awesome things. Now, many people, if you're like me, Irish, a woman, I've been told not to brag my whole life. So I tend to downplay my successes, downplay my thing. In fact, my husband is my hype man. He tells as many people as possible about the awards I've won and the shows I produce, where I tend to stay back. So sometimes we don't recognize our own strengths. We don't recognize our own successes. But the other reason for this is that the world has changed. I'm Gen X now for newer generations, and in 2025, it's less about role-based and more about skills-based. And so we need to start shifting our focus to think about how we are skill-wise, what we can promote skill-wise and success-wise rather than the role or title that we have. I've done this for years when I've pitched TV shows, and I'm going to talk about that. That's why this is important. Couple things. One takeaway is, I hope you have a good time. I want this to be fun and engaging and enlightening. Now, I'm sitting here, I have a necklace, I put makeup on, but I'm also just wearing a normal coat that I would normally wear because I want this to feel conversational. This is my office, and you'll see there's a lot of things in my office that reflect who I am and what's important to me. I want that to be a key takeaway from this, is that you had a good time and that you enjoyed learning about what you're really good at and what you're successful at and what you can brag about. The other takeaways from this are going to be looking at your career and looking at the jobs you've done through the lens of successes, through tasks, through things that you've excelled at, not just by the job title you've had. I'm not saying job titles aren't important. They are. But sometimes if you're shifting industries, like in television, many of us are going to have to look at other places and also federal government. It's good to kind of look at successes from a project perspective or from a task perspective. Another takeaway you're going to have is you're going to look at your resume, your cover letter, your interview skills, etc., in a different way. Hopefully in a way that's energetic, positive, and not braggy, but deservedly a success story. First off, I know what you're thinking. If she's a TV professional, why is she talking to a very small camera? Let me tell you why. You don't need a $30,000 camera to learn how you're great. True, you don't. You can use whatever in front of you, and that's what I want you to do, and I'm doing the same thing. So what you're going to need your resume. You're going to need a cover letter, a sample cover letter. You're going to need your LinkedIn page or anything that kind of gets really much more in depth into your work history. You might also want to tap some friends in between lessons to talk about your work history or talk about things that you've done in the past. Any type of note-taking thing. And then just, the desire to kind of get ready to boost yourself, figure out what you're awesome at or learn how to speak it or tell it more, how awesome you are, and get ready to have a good time. I really hope you take this class and you come away feeling positive, energetic, and like you've made a new friend who's here and has your back. All right, let's do it.